We're a little bit early, so I'm sure that there'll be some other people hop on. All right, hopefully this works this time. I don't know. G'day, Connor. All right, we're working. You're the only person here. I've lost everybody else. Wow, nice. All right, we got some people coming back. G'day, Frizy. How are you? G'day, Basil. G'day, Sammy. We got everybody. All right, I thought I'd lost you. We had some technical glitches at the beginning. And anybody watching later who joined on 8:30 like the normal time, I'm sorry. I'm 5 minutes early. I set my alarm 5 minutes earlier than I thought I had, because normally on TikTok, doesn't surprise with your. Oh no, it's terrible. Normally on TikTok, my alarm goes off and I still ramble for another 10 minutes. But I must have wrapped it up quicker. G'day in Hungary. Hello, Hungary. G'day in the Gold Coast. How are you? Hello, Chook. Ben. Galactic. How is everybody? So, I don't know, let us know in the comments who's here from TikTok and who's here from YouTube. But you guys who are regular, you'll know you're from India. India is my dream place to film. I got asked once by a production company, if you could do a documentary, where would it be? And I said, India, from Vic. Oh. YouTube, g'day Jamie. So yeah, if you're hopping over from TikTok, this is the way we do it. Every week we do a video on TikTok live stream, then we hop on over and we come on to YouTube. YouTube is where we do most of our stuff. So if you want to see lots of videos, we throw 60-second clips up on TikTok, obviously, that are usually cutouts of our videos. But every week we try and do a full-length video on YouTube, and every Tuesday night we do our live stream. So we're going to get out a couple of venomous snakes tonight. We're going to be pretty basic tonight. It's going to be a red-bellied black snake, Rami the tiger snake, and Rami's probably not even here. And we might even get out Nala the king brown. But we're not going to do any eastern browns or death adders. I'm just... For most of you guys, some of you guys would have been here last week. I'm still a bit under the weather. I've been on cold and flu tablets all week, so I'm not going to play with Eastern Browns. G'day, I'm from Kyabram Fauna Park. G'day, how are ya? It's 12:30 a.m. I'm well truly asleep by then. Have I got my hooks yet? No, no, I haven't. But it is my fault. I told him that I'd measure this hook, the hook you'll all know and see, so that he can do me one that's not the same size. But I never measured it. It's easier just to keep teasing Rami about it. Really informative information on my shorts, some of the best ones. I know I should do some more shorts videos. I've just been, it's been hard. Jane, thank you very much. Watch every week. Really enjoy your content. Thank you very much, Jane. If you do want to leave a super chat, guys, like it's certainly very much appreciated. But if you do, ask a question or ask to see an animal, and we'll do our best to give you something for it, because it really means a lot to us. But so yeah, that's basically the thing for newies. We hop on TikTok, we then come across to YouTube. For everybody else, what we want to talk about, we're back in lockdown. I was only in lockdown like 2 weeks ago, and we've been back in lockdown for the last 7 days, and it's just been announced we're going to be in lockdown for the next 7 days, which is terrible. It's a pain. It's got to be, but it's getting pretty hard to run a business. The way that we normally make our living is we take our animals to schools, birthday parties, kindergartens, things like this, and that's obviously not happening. G'day, Kelly. How are you? I'm well, thanks. We are two in South Australia. I know. Most of our regulars, they'll know. I've been planning a trip to Queensland to film at a friend's zoo for a year, well, almost a year now, for a while. And twice I've been going to Queensland and the trip's been cancelled because of COVID. And then, well, 3 times. Twice I was going to go up there, and then once they were locked down. This week I thought, we're going to be not able to go to Queensland. Maybe I'll go to South Australia. I've got some friends over there. We could go and film at the Koala Hospital, because Eccleston Angel, one of our Patreon supporters, is a mad koala fan, and she's always asking for more koala content. So I thought, we can go over to Adelaide, we can film some stuff over there, and I can pick up our brush-tailed bedongs that we're getting while we're there. But now South Australia's locked down, so we can't go over there either. So yeah, we're trapped here at home and I'm running out of content. So long time coming. Bradley Bryce, we want 6 hours, 30 minutes, no test. I know it's terrible, but you know, what can you say? I'm glad I'm not in their shoes. Hey, watch your video about antivenoms. It was really good. Thank you. So yeah, guys, being locked down, there's people who've got a lot worse off than us. But you know, for this past year, you guys watching has basically been the reason we've managed to keep some animals. We, as I said, said before, we had to find homes for a lot of animals. But we managed to keep what we have because we've got you guys watching. We've got our wonderful supporters on Patreon. Tamara, she's up there. She's one of our Patreon supporters. Rami, if he's watching, he's one of our Patreon supporters. Sammy. So if you see our Patreon supporters in the comments, guys, give them a thanks. They're the reason you get to watch this. And, you know, we've got a few other odds and sods, like we got mugs, be nice to wildlife, all that sort of stuff. And that's the reason why we've managed to keep some animals, because we have a lot of animals and we used to have a lot more. So it goes a bit. Thanks, coming from a freeloader. You guys aren't freeloaders. You know, every time you guys watch, you know, you share it with your friends. The biggest thing you can do is get your friends to subscribe to our channel, guys. The bigger we get, the easier it becomes for us to approach zoos and wildlife parks and say, look, we can have 10,000 people watch this. Will you let us come and film? So, you know, subscribing is the biggest thing you can do. But I certainly do appreciate the Patreon supporters. They're what makes it sort of possible. You know, so we do owe them a bit of a thanks. And, you know, don't for a second feel bad if you can't, because, look, I can't support everybody on Patreon either. I'm trying to keep everybody fed here. Hello, Kaleem Stone. How are you, mate? So, now that I've had my vent about lockdown out of the way, we can get out some snakes. You guys have already met Quasimodo. If you were here last week, Quasimodo is one of our only coastal carpet python. And he's got the name because he's got one dinky eye. He got one good eye and one dinky eye. So, g'day, Jay. How are you? What's a group of Tasmanian devils called? I don't know what you'd call a group of Tasmanian devils. A racket. They make a lot of noise. I'll look it up, Dave. I've got a friend who's very, very into devils. She's a bit of a devil expert. She'll know. There'll be some obscure term for it. A murder. It'll be something devil-themed, I reckon. So yeah, this guy here, Quasi, is our coastal carpet python. He's going to grow quite a bit bigger than this. The coastal carpet python is the biggest of the carpet python sort of local variations or subspecies, whatever you want to call them. And this guy's quite a nice light colour, almost a hypermelanistic colour. I have the devil dog. Devil dog, which you'll have to boost my memory, Kelly. So yeah, these guys grow to be 3 meters plus. They're found in sort of eastern Queensland, all the way to the tip of Cape York. But we'll pop them back. We might get out some other snakes, eh? There's 28 people. You guys ask some questions or ask to see some snakes and we'll get some stuff. He's a Kelpie. I have a devil dog, Mr. Mischief. Yeah, I've got 10 here. So I understand the stressed dogs can be. And they're all coolies and kelpies, and a dingo. And my partner has a Malamute. So we got a lot of dogs. Hi, are you in lockdown? We certainly are. We're back in lockdown, guys. It's a pain. Do I have any diamonds? I do. She's not the friendliest to take out, but we'll see how she goes. If there's a snake I'm going to get bitten by, it's not going to be my venomous snake. It's going to be Diana. Such a strong girl, Diana. You wouldn't think of all the snakes I've got, the one that's the most likely to bite me is the damn carpet python. But yeah, so this is our diamond python. Nippy girl she is. This is Diana. So that coastal carpet python I had out before, same species as this. And they actually cross, you've got a sort of section of country up in northern New South Wales where you find snakes that look halfway between one and the other. So in East Gippsland here in Victoria, the far end of Victoria, and up the southern coast of New South Wales, you get the diamond python. And this dark colour helps them absorb heat. Whereas once they get further north, they get lighter and lighter. Eventually they turn into the coastal carpet python, which you get all the way up Queensland. And it's warm enough they don't need that dark colour to absorb heat. I don't want you coming back at my face because she does bite. And I don't want to get bitten on the face. She's thick, yeah, she got some size about her. Doesn't surprise me, pythons are bitey. She's yeah. She's one that I'm not that fussed about if she's bitey or not because she's here for my idea of building an outdoor enclosure for diamonds. Every single one of my dogs is cute in its own way. Cam wins the award. Cam is getting on a bit in age. Cam, for those of you guys who don't know, she was my main working dog for years and years. And she's now retired. But yeah, anybody who follows me on Facebook knows Cam. Love the look of her diamonds. Yeah, she's pretty snake. Any Antaresia? We do have spotted python I can get out. We got Mr. Spots. There you go. It's our spotted python. So the Antaresia is basically the children's python. It's the children's python and the Stimson's python, which genetics now shows is the same thing. The pygmy python and the Stimson's python. So pretty much the 4 smallest pythons in the world, with the spotted being the biggest of those. The children's python and Stimson, like true children's pythons, are found from the western side of Queensland through like the Northern Territory and into the top of Western Australia. Then you've got the pygmy python, which is found in the Pilbara, basically where Red Dog was filmed. You've got the Stimson's python, which is found over a huge section of Central Australia, bottom of the Northern Territory, top of South Australia, half of Western Australia, parts of New South Wales from like Broken Hill northwards, way up into Central Queensland. And then you've got the spotted python, which is found from northern New South Wales on the east coast of the Great Dividing Range, all the way to the tip of Cape York. And there's a population of them up in Papua New Guinea and the Torres Strait. So, yeah. How much do Parentes cost in Australia? Oh, look, I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000. I don't look at the price of Parentes because I can't keep one. So, but yeah, they'd be a couple of $1,000. Have I still got Mr. and Mrs. Mac? Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Spots. No, I've only got Mr. Spots. These days we had a Mrs. Spots at one point, but yeah, she wasn't as relaxed to handle, so she found another home, and we've got the Mrs. What did Sally just always call the same one Mrs.? Yeah, we did have 2, but because I'm not that interested in breeding them, and I could hold 2 different snakes in the same amount of time, just with COVID and stuff, I had a friend who she was good enough to be a pet, just yeah, moved around. How much does he eat? She? He eats like a day-old chick. I feed mostly chicks and quail because I have access to them. He eats a day-old chick every 2-3 weeks. I feed pretty sparingly. He would eat more if I offered it to him, but I think the vast majority of snakes in captivity are overweight. Didn't think there'd be that much over there. Yeah, Parentes are still pretty unusual in captivity. There's not that many people keeping them. Lace monitors, just see a tail of a lace monitor down the bottom in between those 2 rocks. Lace monitors, they'd be $600. But Parentes are pretty, they're sort of the Lamborghinis of monitor lizards. I've got an albino spotted Mac. I'd love to have albino. I'm not that into colour morphs, but albino spotteds are pretty cool. One day maybe I'll have them, but I'm working towards keeping less animals so I can build bigger enclosures. And moving stuff like Diana, I want to move outdoors. Jake, I want to move outdoors. I've just got to, I spent the afternoon cutting down a tree so that we can clear space where we're going to build some outdoor cages. Do I have a red belly? I do have a red belly. What's my favourite species that I own? My favourite species, do the lace and the water dragon ever fight? Nah. Come feed time, I'm pretty cautious to feed one at one end, one at the other. Never had an issue. That being said, you know, they're slightly cooler at the moment. Like this is basically just an overwinter enclosure because I don't trust I don't want them outdoors over winter yet. They'll overwinter next year when I have my enclosure outdoors set up better. So yeah, but no, never had any issues with them to date. I wouldn't recommend anybody else keep them together. What's my favourite species that I own? My favourite species of snake is scrub pythons. Scrub pythons are I think the coolest snakes in the world. A lot of snake people don't like them, which is probably why I like them. But my favourite snake I own is this guy here, which is Brutus. We'll get him out. How many Macquarie turtles do I have? I've got 2 Macquarie short necks. Well, they're short necks. I don't know what subspecies they are. They were just rescued turtles that needed a home. A normal lace one costs $3 or $4 grand in the US. Yeah, I know they're pretty expensive. For good reason, I suppose. We're obviously not allowed to send, for anybody who's watching, reptile keeping here in Australia is pretty popular, but we're not allowed to keep exotic reptiles, and we're not allowed to export our reptiles. So Australian reptiles overseas are in pretty high demand because everybody wants what they can't have, and they're not allowed out. So some get smuggled out, some are the descendants of animals that have legally gone out, either before the 70s, or getting a dodgy connection. I'm sorry, it's probably my end. Is everybody else working? If you guys can hear me or can't hear me, let me know. But yeah, so the prices of Australian reptiles overseas are much, much higher. Things like shingleback lizards here are $200, whereas they're thousands and thousands of dollars. A quarter red belly. Be very careful, they're not all like this guy. This is Brutus. Brutus is the coolest red belly in the world. Nah, it's you. It's me. It's always me. I can hear me 80% of the time. Hang on. I don't know if that makes it any better. It's a bit blurry. I can't help that. Maybe I can hop off and we can start again. Sorry, we followed you over from TikTok. 2 kitties, Trevor Nick. Would love if I'd say hi. Hang on. I'll pop the snake down and I'll read those names out, and I'll certainly give a hello for your kitties. It's the least we can do. Who is it watching? G'day, Trey and Nate. How are you guys? Thank you for watching. I mean, he caught me holding the red belly. Yeah. We'll get the red belly out again in a second. If I'm going to handle a snake, it's him. But hopefully the reception's not too bad. I don't want to be playing with snakes that can kill me if none of you can see it. But we have terrible reception here. Can we see one of the venomous snakes? All right, I can get out. We'll get out Nala. We'll get out a King Brown. It's better now? All right. For those of you who don't know, I live in a regional area. We've got pretty dodgy reception, which is half the reason we've been moving into this reptile room. I don't have a water python here at the moment these days. Ellen, sorry. Reception's fine here? Nala. Yeah. So, hey, darling. So this here is Nala. Nala is the King Brown or the Mulga snake. I know Tamara doesn't like it when I use the word King Brown, but Mulga snake is a better name because the King Brown is not a brown snake. It's a brown coloured snake, but it's not in the brown snake family. She's getting a bit big. Where's Spitfire? Spitfire's not on tonight. He's been fed this week, so Rami's going to come out, I think. My snake's called Nala too. My 3-year-old gave her the name Nala, but she's a cool girl. So Nala here is a Mulga or a King Brown, which is one of the longest venomous snakes in Australia. The coastal taipan technically trumps it in terms of length, but Mulgas are capable of reaching 3 meters, which is a very big venomous snake. One of the biggest venomous snakes in the world, really. And this girl here, her progeny or her ancestors trace back to Kununurra, which is the top end out of Darwin. Darwin Mulgas are historically the biggest, and surrounding areas of the Northern Territory are pretty big. So she could get to be a big snake. Being a girl, won't be as big as a boy in this species, but she's still got a bit of growing left to do. So she's a cool snake. But as I said, the King Brown, not in the brown snake family. Genetically, she's in the black snake family. So if you're bitten by Nala here, you need black snake antivenom, not brown snake antivenom. Which is why the word Mulga is a better name. It describes the habitat they live in. Want to say hello to people? Describes the habitat they live in. They're generally an arid species. So yeah, but she's a very cool animal. king browns have probably the widest distribution of any snake in Australia. So they're found, over the entirety of the Northern Territory, or where before cane toads basically wiped them out from the Darwin region. Most of Western Australia, all of Queensland, all of New South Wales, except for like a thin band in like the tropics. Victoria and Tasmania are the only states that don't have them. So they've got the widest distribution of any venomous snake or any snake in Australia, but they vary massively. So if you get if you get a king brown from, say, like central Queensland, like St. George, they're often much shorter than this girl. She would be a massive mulga in central Queensland, sort of 3 feet as big as they get over there, and they're brick red. If you go sort of central Australia, they're nice and speckled, like Alice Springs. Renmark, they're kind of grey, and she's this nice sort of grey-brown, which is typical of the northern populations. Just catches his nose while holding a venomous snake. It's a hard life. Also, I'm lucky that I've got pretty well-handled snakes as a general rule of thumb. So interesting how they're different colour. Yeah, so they're different colour basically on where they live. Do I have a pygmy brown? No, I don't. Like a pygmy mulga. Well, either way, I don't have a pygmy brown or any of the small brown snakes. I do keep eastern browns. Get to be a big snake. She's huge. Yeah, she's still going to get bigger. I have a disability. Parents reckon the only time they saw me run was when I jumped off the lawnmower and landed next to a brown. There's 4 million years of instinct telling you to run from the snake, so it's not a bad thing. Yeah, Tamara, I had an itchy nose. Where's the good tiger? I do have Rami tonight. I put off getting him, Rami, because I thought if I pulled him out and you're not here, I'll have to pull him out again. Yeah, I'll get him out now. Rami is not bringing Spitfire. You're out of luck. I know. So we've got a couple of tiger snakes, but the main two that get pulled out for the shows are Rami and Spitfire. Just because the third one I have doesn't really like being handled. I like Spitfire. He's so big, but Rami is probably the prettier of the two. But I don't think he'll ever grow as big as Spitfire. But he's a bit of a pain. He wraps his tail around and... Yeah, look that way. There you go. Look at the camera. So this here is Rami, not Spitfire, who's one of our tiger snakes, our mainland or eastern tiger snakes. And this species here used to account for the most snake bites in Australia. It's now the eastern brown. Today it accounts for about 16% of Australian snake bites, which still probably puts it at about second after the brown snakes collectively. So if you take out the eastern brown, the western brown, the dugite, they're together responsible for a lot of snake bites. Then the tiger snake would be next. Between 2005 and 2015, there was 4 deaths from the tiger snake. In that time, there was about 16 deaths from the eastern brown. So yeah, but still certainly a snake to take seriously. The early settlers, this is the snake that killed the most early settlers, just because where they landed was historically tiger snake habitat before it all got drained. And people really didn't live in brown snake habitat for the first sort of 20, 30 years of Australian settlement. So because of that, this guy here has been replaced by the brown snake in terms of bites. So still a pretty nasty bite. If you guys want to know what it's like being bitten by a tiger snake, don't try it yourself. A few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, we've got a video out there which is an interview with a mate of mine, Ben Avery, who's a snake catcher in Queensland. He was bitten by his pet tiger snake, and he had one of the worst tiger snake bites that was survived on the record. He's had kidney dialysis. He's been told that he might need a kidney transplant down the line from the damage it's done to his tissues. They cause muscle breakdown, and what happens is the muscles break down, something's got to filter all that muscle juice out of your body again, and it puts a huge strain on your kidneys. So yeah, you had to have a lot of blood transfusions and whatnot as well. So, but he's a pretty snake. He's a very, very cool snake. So this is about the 5th most venomous snake in the world, guys, for those who are unaware. So, Australia's got the most venomous snakes in the world, but a lot of our snakes aren't as venomous as people think. Like, yes, we've got basically the top 10, We've got 180 snakes. 100 of them are venomous, and only about 20 of them are sort of medical emergencies. So there's a lot of snakes that are venomous that aren't going to kill you. They might ruin your day, but this one here is certainly capable of doing more than giving you a headache. But there you go. We'll answer some questions. Oh, did I miss a super chat or something? Hang on. Oh yeah, sorry, that was Sammy. Well, yeah, I've got some venomous snakes out, Sammy. So calm, playing with one of the most dangerous snakes in the world. The water dragon's watching me. I know Elliot doesn't miss much. I got some mealworms today, but they're still in the car. Yeah, I've thrown him a couple of mealworms, but they're still in the car. Because Elliot does love his mealworms. Maybe we'll get out a python, eh? Who should we get out? I'll get out Charlie. You haven't met Charlie, I think. Actually, a lizard. We haven't got a lizard out yet. Let me prickle. Alright, so since we haven't got a lizard out, this is Prickle, who's probably my favourite lizard. Prickle is a Cunningham skink, which fit into the Gurnia genus, which is sort of distantly related to blue tongues. Would I own a bandy? Probably not. I love bandies, they're cool. I'd love to see one in the wild, but they're a pain in the ass to keep. The only people I know or have heard of who have kept bandies successfully have had to force feed them dog food in a tube, like stick a tube down their throat, inject dog food down. Yeah, they're a pain. Sorry you have to go to bed. That's no worry, Lavina. Thank you very much for popping by. Tray 8 would like to know if snakes and lizards would fight. They certainly would. Most of the time, it depends who's who. If this guy here ran into Rami or Brutus, or definitely Nala, all three of the snakes that we've had out today would eat Prickle. Lucy, our Lacey, who's asleep, she wouldn't be able to eat our venomous snakes, but she'd give them a pretty good run for their money. She'd grab them and ruin their day. So yeah, venomous snake, or snakes in general and lizards, but they don't go out of their way to find each other. So she's not going to, go and look for snakes to punch on with. Snakes aren't going to, go and fight lizards. They're looking for lizards to eat. So yeah, see bandies all over Gympie. I'll have to head up that way one day. I've never got to see a bandy in the wild. Does Elliot handle well? Not really. He handles okay when he wants to, which is typical water dragons. Can we see the water dragon? I can try and get him out. If he doesn't want to get out, I won't force him. Because, yeah, he's a water dragon. They're not the most handleable lizards. But Prickle here, she's one of the ones that goes to schools and birthday parties and kindergartens. So for you guys who don't know, she's what we call a Cunningham skink. These guys are found pretty much all over Eastern Australia, and they go westwards into South Australia. And on the East Coast, they're common as mud. They're very cool. I don't make them sound like they're not cool because they're common, but they're everywhere. In South Australia, they're listed as a threatened species. And their biggest threat in South Australia is rock removal. Their range in South Australia is outside Adelaide, which is one of the capital cities. And pretty much all the loose rock that can be picked up and carried off has been picked up and carried away for nurseries. And as a result, these guys are in danger. There's several populations of them, but the populations are disjointed. They can't swap with each other to breed. So, yeah, a bit of a worry. I'll pop her away, and who was it that asked? Have I seen a pygmy blue tongue? I'd love to see a pygmy blue tongue. I've never seen one. Friends of mine, they were out there in the summer looking for them, and they sent me some videos to tease me. Because they saw two of them. They went out there with little mealworms and tweezers and teased them out of their holes to get a photo. Oh, who was that left us a super chat? I've seen a few snake videos on YouTube and even snake handlers that say inaccurate facts about venomous snakes. Does it grind my gears as much as it's me? Yeah, I'm a stickler. Look, everybody makes mistakes, and facts do change and get updated. So I don't want to say anybody's better than anybody, but I don't know how many of our videos you've watched, but I put a lot of time into when I write our videos. I write out what I want to say, and then I go and fact check everything, just in case, since when I learnt it, it's been updated. And I feel that we should feel obliged to do that. Did I see on the local group a bluey cross stumpy was an accident? Yeah, I've seen that. I know that there's been a couple of cases of bluey shingleback hybrids. I keep my blueys and shinglebacks together. I'm not going to, say that I don't. Obviously, I'm not trying to cross them. It's never happened. But yeah, I'm not going to hold that against them. What's my favourite lizard to work with? The frillneck lizard is so interesting. Do I have frillneck lizards? I used to keep and breed frillneck lizards, but I don't have any more. Is the land mallet and the Cunningham skink the same thing? No, they're both, I'm 99% certain they both fit in Egernia though, that they're in the same genus. But no, not the same thing. So Cunningham skink, when you feel them, they've got sharp spines running down their back, all point backwards. Land mallets don't have that. Land mallets feel like a gigantic garden skink. Would I be able to explain what file snakes are? Hear about them, what are they? Good question. File snakes, maybe I'll get something out while I talk about it. Well, file snakes are a whole different sort of genus of, well, not even genus, a whole different family of snakes. Can I keep land mallets? We can. I don't know if they do well outdoors here, because I'm way south of their range. And being big, they need a fairly big indoor cage devoted to an animal that doesn't handle really well. But maybe if I had them outdoors in sort of like a greenhousey type thing, they'd do well. I don't know. But so file snakes are a whole different family of snakes. So our venomous snakes are elapids. Our tree snakes and stuff are colubrids, and our pythons are pythons. And most people think of them as the three big families of snakes in Australia. But the file snakes, we've got two species. They're both aquatic. So they live entirely in the water. They don't even come out to breed or lay eggs. They give birth to live young. And their skin literally feels like sandpaper or even a coarse file. And the reason they have this is they're not venomous. They eat fish. So to constrict a slimy fish, they've got skin that's really, really rough. Got to dart off. See you next time. Thank you very much, Kyle, for popping by. I appreciate it. So yeah, file snakes are very cool. They eat live fish. They swallow them basically alive. They don't even put the time in to constrict them. They just grab them, wrap them up, and the only reason they wrap them up is to hold them still while they get their mouth over. G'day, Mark. How are you, mate? Good luck over here. Thank you. I'm sure everybody around the world needs it, but we definitely need it here. Like the keelback. No, the keelback fits in the colubrids. Still eats them basically live. It eats frogs and things like that. But yeah, the keelback's very different to the file snakes. Same scale, they've both got a rough scale, but the keelback's got a rough scale because it's got scales that are keeled, whereas the file snake, it's hard to describe. It basically feels like really coarse sandpaper. It's not keeled, it's rough everywhere. Hence the name file snake. They're very, very cool. They're one snake that I'd keep even if I couldn't, you can't use them for displays because they're stressed. They don't like being moved at all. But if I was going to keep a snake just for my own personal interest, file snakes are one that I'd be very tempted. Thought those were mud snakes. Mud snakes, I think, are in the same group or another group. Yeah, there's a bunch of those tropical north unusual species like boccadams and stuff. That eternal major, is that an eternal major or a Gurnia major? A Gurnia major, I think. Yeah, it's a Gurnia major. The land mullet. Like the rough scale python. Yeah, so the rough scale python's got a keeled scale. Has it been explained why keelbacks are immune to bufotoxins? Yeah, so a lot of you guys are probably unaware. The keelback is a colubrid snake. I think it's in the colubrid family. It's been moved around a bit lately. But it's a species of snake in the top end of Australia that's famous for its ability to eat cane toads without being poisoned. It can tolerate bufotoxin, which is the poison in the glands that cane toads have. That being said, they can eat cane toads. They don't go looking for cane toads. Everybody says, we should breed up keelbacks and just release them. Need to brush on my taxonomy. I know, I'm not 100% on it. Thank you for stopping by, Kelly. A Gurnia. Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, mate. Perth Reptile Relocations is one of our official sponsors, guys, as well. So if you follow our YouTube channel and you enjoy it, follow Perth Reptile Relocations. Find them on Facebook. They're kind enough to be, one of our major sponsors. So he really, really knows his stuff. And he's got western tiger snakes and dugites over there that I can't show you. Large cane toads will still kill them. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if large cane toads can. But I was speaking to a person who was telling me that when they're put in captivity in studies, they've shown that it takes more energy to break down the toxin than they get from the toad. So even though they won't die from eating small toads, they can't live off them. It's actually bad for them. So Do I have a merch line? I do have jumpers. I don't have my jumper on today, but we've got Wicked Wildlife jumpers with the crocodile skin Wicked Wildlife logo. Can't see it without the light shining off it. And we've got t-shirts with the same, and we've got t-shirts and mugs with the Be Nice to Wildlife on them. So we do have that. You can find that in the shop tab on our YouTube channel. So if you're on your phone, it's a Teespring store. So can I do a bigger video on the common tree snake? I want to own one. Have you seen it? We do have a common tree snake video. I'm not sure if it's called the common tree snake or green tree snake video, but we do have one from about a month or two ago. Are there any species of toad to South Australia? There's no true toads in Australia besides the cane toad. Maybe we'll get... Oh, I won't get Samson out. You've been manhandled. We'll get this fella out. So yeah, there's no true toads native to Australia, but you do have a few what we call toadlets, which is basically just a silly name for a frog that lives in sort of drier areas. So I know in the Adelaide region you've got the Bibron's toadlet, and there's other toadlets like red-thighed toadlets and stuff like that. But I know a friend who is in the Adelaide Hills who has Bibron's toadlets. So yeah. But no true toads down there. Saw selling white-lipped pythons in Australia. Are they actually natives? It's up for debate whether they're natives or not. So white-lipped pythons are found mostly in Indonesia, but they also push into the Torres Strait, which is Australian territory. So they're not found on the Australian mainland. So whether you class that as an Australian species because they exist in the Torres Strait, I don't know. I've heard... and don't quote me on this, I've heard that the white-lipped pythons that are in captivity are the New Guinea sort of subspecies anyway, not even the Torres Strait ones. But because it's one species or whatever, it's the same as people breed and sell and trade New Guinea green tree pythons. But if push comes to shove, they say, well, why do you have exotic green tree pythons? Well, prove it's exotic. So, but yeah, they are legally kept in Queensland. I don't know about other states. Would I ever keep legless lizards? I've kept a few legless lizards. I've kept common scalyfoots, and I had a single western hooded scalyfoot. I just could not find a partner for it. I don't have any these days, but yeah, I do like legless lizards. I'd love to get... I don't think I'd keep large numbers of them, but I would like one more just to to show people lizard versus snake. Yeah, legless lizards are pretty cool. Our legless lizards, there's also a bunch of legless lizards around the world. Like you've got the glass lizards over in the States and in Europe, they're huge. They're the size of a small python. Our legless lizards are fairly small. And they're not actually very closely related to the legless lizards around the world. Our legless lizards are genetically very close to geckos. Some taxonomists basically want to lump them into a super sort of family with geckos. Ada and her brother Cam watching. G'day Ada and Cam, how are you? What's my favourite non-native reptile? Non-native. I don't really know. I've worked with a few. I worked with some cobras that were pretty cool. I worked with Mozambique spitting cobras, Siamese spitting cobras, and Asian cobras, which were pretty cool to work with. And snapping turtles. There's not too many exotics that I'm desperate to keep myself. I worked with a few iguanas and things like that. But yeah. Tortoises are cool. I don't know. Giant tortoises, actually. One of the coolest exotic reptiles I ever worked with. I used to look after a trio of Aldabra giant tortoises, and the male Hugo was so cool. We'd go out and we'd give him get a scrubbing brush and brush his shell and stand on his tippy toes, and he'd rock up against it, and he thought it was great. So yeah, giant tortoises are pretty cool. I love the pointy nose of the Burtons. Yeah, the Burtons legless is crazy. I love Burtons, but because they only feed on skinks, they're a pain to keep. In some states, you're allowed to catch and feed skinks. We can't here in Victoria. So, hi, Arnie. G'day, how are you, Brian? How are you? Just got home from work. I'd say I'm finished work. I'm finished my day job, and then I come and chat to you guys. For a little while. Anyway. The only non-native animal I'd love to have is a big tortoise. Big tortoises are cool. The only thing is, if I could have a big tortoise, I probably still wouldn't, because I'd feel bad keeping a giant tortoise unless I lived in a place like North Queensland where I could have it outdoors all year round. our giant tortoise that I looked after, they had a big outdoor enclosure and they had like a garage type setup at the time for winter. And Hugo was so strong, he'd put the lip of his shell under the edge of the roller door that came down, and he'd just stand up and lift the whole roller door up, just snap the locks on each end. And then he'd walk down, because he'd be warm from being in the garage, he'd walk down to the pond that he used to like to swim in, and by the time he'd get there, he'd be stone cold, and he couldn't walk back up. And two of us would have to pick him up, 1 foot at a time and ferry him back to his heater. So, yeah. That was Aldabra tortoises, which is the second largest tortoise in the world. No plans to mess with Nyacaothia. That's what I used to keep. What I used to look after. So I was a reptile keeper at a zoo in Victoria, and we had several Nyacaothia monocles, which I just called Asian cobras, because there's Asians and Indians, which is monocles and spectacles. Nyacaothia is what I used to look after. I actually had a funny story about a monocled cobra. I was doing a snake show at a zoo, and I usually do my snake shows, got a hook, got a bin that I'd put the snake in and take it out to do the talk, because I'd take a bin and take sort of a python. And I'd always take the python around, do my introduction, and then give it to my volunteer. And then I'd take out the venomous snake. And this day I had this big monocled cobra, like 6 foot, pretty big. And I never thought, it's a stupid idea, but I never thought anything about it. I'd do like take the snake out and talk about him, put him back in his tub, and then I'd do like the snake bite sort of presentation. Get a bandage, I'd wrap my arm up, talk about what to do, and I'd always just pop it in the bin with the snake without thinking about it, so I didn't have to hold it any longer. And one day I got back into the reptile room behind the scenes and opened the bin to put this cobra away, and he had a compression bandage halfway down his gob, and we had to pin him and restrain him and try and work this thing out backwards. And here in Australia, for you guys who don't know, if you're bitten overseas by a monocled cobra, it's going to suck. It's a bad bite. But Australia's got very, very limited supplies of exotic snake venom, because we can't keep exotic venomous snakes. So we had access to it, but it was, as far as I'm aware, it was years out of date. And as we were doing this, the guy who was working in there with me looked up and said, if we get bitten and the bandage is in the snake's mouth, what do you bandage yourself with? I thought, oh geez, don't jinx me like that. But yeah, I did like working with the monocled cobras. Yeah, I'm in South Australia, definitely not warm enough there. That's right. Do you know about water skinks? I own 3. I know a little bit about water skinks. If you're Jake from Aussie Reptiles with a Z, he's got a YouTube channel and he keeps a few southern water skinks. He might be able to help you out. What do I think the most beautiful elapid is in Australia is? Collets would be pretty well up there, I reckon. It'd be hard to beat collets for purely aesthetic beauty. There's some ugly collets, but like pretty collets, like young collets. There you go, right? Collets. Everybody thinks collet snakes. Yeah, I can't even think of something that'd match it. Yeah, everybody agrees. So collets blacks, I don't have any collets blacks now, but we do have a video out with one of my collets blacks that I used to keep, and they're awesome. They're like a red-bellied black snake. They're in the same family, but they're almost a black, like a dark grey on top with orange. It's like somebody put orange flames down their sides. Western tigers are amazing. There's some cool Western tigers. There's some cool Eastern tigers. Boiga are cute. I do like the brown tree snakes. Broadheadeds are pretty. Do I ever have terrible days where any snake I go to get out is cranky towards me? Not necessarily. I have terrible days where, like, if I'm not feeling well, like terrible days as a handler where I'm like, I don't feel up to dealing with venomous snakes. Last week, we wouldn't deal with any venomous snakes on the live stream. I said off the bat that I wasn't feeling well. So I have terrible days like that. If anything's sick, it's a terrible day for me. But no, the snakes don't really sort of play up too much in that regard. Just for a Mulga defense posture, no wonder they thought it was Naya. Yeah, that's right. Mulgas and red bellies were both lumped into the cobra family for a little while. But they're grown of darker spots. It's amazing. What's that? The dugite that we're talking about? Feckled dugites, yeah. There's some pretty dugites as well. I haven't dealt with dugites a whole heap. Perth reptile relocations, I'm sure they catch a fair few dugongs. They're very cool snakes. I'd love one, but I can only keep so many snakes. I used to keep a lot more, and like I loved keeping a lot. Now that it was sad to have to cut down, but now that we've cut down, I think we'll stay at the size we are and work towards utilizing the space and doing bigger enclosures, which is what I'd like to do. Marsh snakes are pretty. There are so many pretty snakes in Australia. Do I own barking geckos? No, I used to keep barking geckos years ago, which is the thick-tailed gecko for anybody else who's unfamiliar. So, yeah. Brown trees are called cat-eye snakes overseas. Yeah, but they're called cat-eyed snakes overseas, but so are like all their relatives. Like cat-eyed snakes seems to be like people overseas, it's their way of saying tree snake. So all those boiga species are collectively called cat-eye snakes by people overseas. When am I getting a saltwater crocodile? I've had saltwater crocodiles. I've kept a lot of saltwater crocodiles. I'm not sure if I'll get another one. Maybe. I like the fact that 2 freshies I can keep together. Whereas if I have a salty, I need a second enclosure. And for those of you who don't know, like my crocodile enclosure, like this is my crocodile enclosure. It's 9 foot long. There's a 375 watt light, 400 watts in water heating, and a 1200 watt panel heater, which comes on in the middle of the night if it gets cold. So to have 2 of those, it cost me a lot of money just to heat. Am I able to own ferrets in Victoria? Yeah, I used to have working ferrets for rabbiting, but I don't anymore. I just don't have time to do everything. But yeah, we can keep ferrets. I do like ferrets. Inland ties in full colour. Yes, summer inland taipans are nice. All right, maybe we'll get something else out for a little while. We'll get out the baby scrubby. I don't think I got him out on this. I think I got him out on TikTok. And then maybe we'll just get out of Bluey or somebody, eh? All right, so we've got a few people out there who've been following this snake as he grows up. This is our baby he. I keep calling it a he, but I hope it's a she. I'll jinx myself. This is our baby scrub python who's steadily getting bigger. Hey, beautiful. Where'd you buy my baby scrubby? I just bought one from Jason at Jurassic Jungle. This one come from a breeder up in Cairns. I dare say it might have come from the same place originally, because they're a pretty well-known scrubby breeder. And he looks like you when you put your headphones in your pocket. What? You've lost me there, Tamara. Yeah, so this baby scrubby is born up in Cairns. He was sent down by a friend of mine who knew that I'd wanted one for the last year or so, because scrubbies are my favourite snakes. I get you. I'm like, I've never put my... Yeah, he does. When you put your headphones in your pocket, you pull them out, and they're always a mess no matter what you do. I get you. He does look a bit that way. So for those of you who don't know, it's baby scrub pythons. This guy here is going to get pretty big. The scrub python's the biggest snake in the country. These guys have been recorded up over the 5-6 meter mark even. Scrubs are still tree dwellers at 16 feet. It's amazing. Yeah, they're a big snake. The maximum sizes of these guys puts them up around the 5th longest snake in the world. But even though they get almost as long as some Burmese pythons, these guys would be half the weight. They're long, slender snakes because they live in trees. They don't, just chill at the bottom of the forest like Burms do. So they get to be very big. My favourite thing about them, though, is, of course, I like the big platy scales on their heads. And I like the fact that they often have narky attitudes. I have 3 scrubbies at the moment, 2 males and a female. I love scrub pythons. I used to live in Townsville, and I had scrub pythons out in a big aviary when I was up there. Some 3.5-ish, 4 metre scrubbies up there. And I wish I didn't leave them up there with friends because I love them. Scrubbies, yeah, so scrubbies still tree dwellers. Yeah, they live up trees there pretty much their whole lives, but they do spend more and more time on the ground as they grow up, which is possibly because they get so big that climbing is more difficult. And also, once you get to that size, they're less likely to be prey for other animals. Not too many things are going to eat a 16-foot scrubby. So, yeah, they're a little bit less vulnerable, but they'll certainly still climb. They'll certainly still take birds and fruit bats and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this girl here getting big. I'm going to build a 9-foot enclosure that goes the whole top of the crocodile enclosure, and that's going to be for this girl here one day. So for now, I've got 3-foot enclosures on top of there. They have one that's 8 foot, one that's 6 foot, and a female hatchie. No need to worry about drop bears. Fear the drop noodles. Spot on. Do I own Jackie lizards? No, I don't keep any Jackie dragons these days. I've had them in the past. They're cool. I'd definitely get... Jackies are one thing I'd definitely get again if I had the chance, because I can keep them outdoors. And I'd like to... If I'm going to get more animals, I want them to be outdoor sort of species. For a start, I'd like to keep things that are local to my area, so I can... putting together a talk on like biodiversity on farms. So they're good for that. Seems champion is changing. Yeah, she's starting to get a little bit cruisy than when she came here. So yeah, I'd like Jackie dragons because I can talk about a local species. And also if they're outdoors, they don't take away from space in here, where I want to be able to build bigger enclosures in here rather than just have stuff for the sake of having stuff. What's my favourite monitor species? Laces are pretty hard to beat. I do like lace monitors. Yeah. I really want heath monitors, but Parks and Wildlife won't give me permission for them. I want a scrub python so bad. Scrubs, roughies, brown trees are my favourites. Yeah, roughies are pretty cool. Parentes, I like parentes. I've met some cool parentes and I've worked with some cool parentes. I'd never keep them. They're too big to cart around for what I do. And again, I'm not in the game of keeping animals just for the sake of keeping animals. I used to. I was a private keeper, but if I was going back to just private keeping, I would keep, probably a pair of big scrub pythons, and heaths require special permission. Yeah, so heaths aren't on our permits here in Victoria. We're not allowed them. I applied for permission a couple of years ago and I got turned down, so I'm going to try again. Gonna head off tomorrow. Thank you for popping by up at 4 a.m. Don't do anything too exciting. No, I'm going to wrap things up in about 8 minutes. I've been here for 52 minutes now, so thank you tomorrow. I will see you next Tuesday. So yeah, perennies are cool, but they get too big for what I do, and they get too big. I've seen very, very few indoor enclosures for perennies that I feel do them justice. 10 years ago I'd have been like, perennies, yeah, I want perennies. Yeah, can me what? Did I notice the snakes' numbers are up with the mice plague? Not really. So, like, the mouse plague didn't get as far south as me. We're getting a few more mice than a normal year, but not the plague. But it's a funny thing. Every time there's a mouse plague or a wet year or a dry year, the journalists will always find a way to say that the snake's going to be in plague proportions. Yes, there's going to be a lot of food for snakes, but the numbers don't increase from that straight away. Like, there might be more snakes seen in 3 or 4 years' time, because this year they would have been well fed. They might have had bigger clutches of eggs, higher survival rate, but they hatch out tiny. Nobody seems to see tiny snakes. You see them when they're a couple of feet long, and they're more likely to be hunting for mice, in your sheds and stuff like that. So in a few years' time, we might see a few more snakes. Are the giant river rats as big as people think? Ricali, like the Australian water rat, they're pretty big. They're 2.5 feet. They're pretty big. I can show you a crocodile. I'll get out a minnow because we've got out shark bait on the TikTok one, if I can catch him. I'm going to just put my baby scrubby away. And the crocodile might be the last thing we do for the night, I reckon. Alright, whoop, lock my stand. So this one's Minnow. Minnow is our baby freshwater crocodile, 2-year-old freshwater crocodile. We've got 2 species of crocs in Australia, obviously, the salties and freshies. And the freshie is sort of the salty's poor cousin. Everybody's excited about salties, and it's fair enough, but freshies are uniquely Australian. Salties aren't all that Australian. Yeah, they're found here. We've got a lot of them, but they're also found in a bunch of other countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Borneo. Borneo is part of Indonesia, but you know what I mean. They're found over a huge section of the world. Freshies are found nowhere else. And unfortunately, freshies have also been really hammered by cane toads in a lot of places. So yeah, they're pretty cool. I can't click my button to read any comments while I got him, but so these guys, they don't grow as long as salties, obviously. 3 meters is a massive freshwater crocodile. We keep 2 of them here. They're pretty much the same size, which is why they live together. And they're largely fish eaters. They've got that narrow snout compared to salty, and the narrower the snout, the faster it moves underwater, the less sort of resistance they have. So they can strike out a lot faster than the salty can, but a broader snout's got more crushing power. Devilly, thank you very much. Buy the merch. You guys have one of my jumpers, I think. Yeah, buy the merch or Minnow will bite you. So yeah, freshwater crocodiles have got a faster strike than saltwater crocodiles, but less crushing power. So, you know, salty's really designed to roar out of the water, grab something, and hold it while they drag it back into the river. Whereas freshies are designed to sit with their mouth open and lash out to the side and grab something really quick. So, yeah, but they're cool crocodiles. What do I feed my freshies? All sorts of stuff. So they get a little bit of mincemeat if the mince gets to its expiry date in the fridge. If anything rejects mice, they get mice. I feed a lot of like day-old chickens, a lot of quail, just because I get access to these things. My family, well, my partner breeds show poultry, and she's got friends and relatives that breed poultry, so I get a lot of that stuff. In the summer, they get a lot of yabbies. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Will my children's path and 10-month-old get used to handling the more I do it, or it just comes with age? A bit of both. The bigger they get, the bigger they get, the higher up the food chain they are. So the less skittish they become. But even though it comes with age, you don't want to not handle them at all and let them get bigger and bigger and bigger and then get too nervous to handle them. You can not handle them at all, and then when they're an adult, they'll be bitey and you can get them tame. You can get almost any snake tame. But a lot of people get too nervous to do it. So handling it now while it grows is a good way. Do I like emerald green tree frogs? I like pretty much any frog. They're cool. I don't keep many frogs. I keep perins and magnificents. And the only other frogs that I'm really chasing is growling grass frogs and banjo frogs. So I can keep local species outdoors. So what happens when... So that's what happened was not a good looking rooster. Spot on. If the rooster doesn't win. Now, funnily, like all my partner's friends and relatives who breed poultry, it's always all the extra roosters they don't want. They go, oh, here, I've got a box of roosters. And they'll be like 30 roosters. I say, I might go through 12 roosters a year. Not that many. So I don't need that many. So I get a lot of day-old chickens from the layer industry. What type of venom do tiger snakes have? Tiger snake, well, most Australian snakes have a bit of a concoction, but tiger snakes certainly have some neurological effects. So they basically shut your breathing, your heart down, but they also have hemotoxic effects. They can break down muscle and blood tissue. They're a really nasty bite, tiger snakes. There's a video, I don't know if you've watched it, but there is a video where we interview a friend of mine, Ben Avery, who was bitten by a tiger snake. His pet tiger snake a couple of months ago. How do I know so much about snakes? I don't know if I know that much about snakes. I know as much about snakes as you know about your job, probably. It's my job. Can I see a wombat? I can't bring my wombat in here because she lives outside in a big enclosure and it's night time, which is her time. But we've got a bunch of videos up with her. One day I'll bring her in here for a live stream. But if I bring mammals in here, I can't take out snakes at the same time. Snakes just, yeah, it's just not a good mix. But I will try and do some more videos with our wombat. Alright guys, if we've caught up on everything, we've been here for an hour. Unless there's any other questions, we might wrap things up on there. Couldn't imagine why. Do I have a koala? I don't have any koalas. There is a koala somewhere on my property though. I've been finding koala poo around the place. And I saw a mother and a mother with a pouch joey a few weeks ago. So I reckon it's the same one. And she's still hanging around. So there is koalas on the property, but we don't own any koalas. I'd love to one day, but yeah, if we get to 100,000 subscribers, I'll probably have the push to push for a permit. But until then, they cost a lot of money to get involved in koalas. Thanks for great education work. No, thank you very much for watching, Chris. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up on there. We've been here an hour, but thank you very much for listening to me blabber on. Thank you for the super chats and the Patreon support and just watching and sharing, guys. You're amazing. If you could do us a couple of favors, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. The more thumbs up we get, the more people watch our videos. If you're new here from TikTok and whatnot, make sure you press the subscribe button. Leave a comment in our videos because I'm running out of ideas for videos. So if you want to see more, let me know what you want to see. And the last thing you can do, guys, if you really want to help the channel, is we do have some merchandise. We've got the mugs, Wicked Wildlife, and Be Nice to Wildlife. We've got jumpers, we've got t-shirts. Devilly, one of our Patreon supporters, he's got one. And He reckons it's pretty good. I've got mine. You can see in a few photos and stuff on our Facebook as well. But other than that, guys, just let your friends know about the channel. We need to keep growing so we can keep... the bigger our channel gets, the goal of our channel, the bigger our channel gets, the more we can approach zoos and wildlife parks and have them take us seriously enough to let us go and film there. And the goal of our channel is to grow big enough that we can... I want to be able to go to a wildlife carer and say, what are you trying to do? And if they want to build an aviary to rehabilitate eagles and it's going to cost $2,000, I want to be able to raise the $2,000 for them. That is the goal of our channel. So, yeah, the best thing you can do, guys, is just share our videos with your friends. Tell them to subscribe because we are trying our best to grow big enough to do very good things. But thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. We'll have a video on Sunday when I decide what I'm going to do it about. But yeah, other than that, guys, be nice to wildlife. See you next week, guys.